My father served me eviction papers and stated, "You have 48 hours to clear out. Your sister now owns this home." I simply grinned and concurred. But the moment she entered that home, she understood she'd made the worst misstep of her whole life. Sound of a subtle, deep breath, then a slight exhale. A moment of silence before the voice begins, a touch of weariness in the tone, but with a new, quiet strength. Can you imagine pouring your heart, soul, and every spare penny into a home, only to have your own family hand you an eviction notice? Not from some faceless landlord, but from your parents and the sister you spent your whole life protecting? They gave me 48 hours to get out, and they thought I'd just go. They had no idea who they were dealing with. My name's Mark. I'm 31. For as long as I can remember, I've been the one who fixes things. A leaky pipe at 2 a.m.? That's me, wrench in hand. Need a ride from the airport? I'm the guy with the coffee waiting. I work IT help desk at a hospital, pay my bills, keep my head down, and I lived in the downstairs unit of my parents' old duplex, the one I basically rebuilt myself after a nasty flood a couple summers ago. Then there's Lily, my sister. She's 27. She's the she'll-figure-it-out kid. Blonde hair, big plans, new plans every month. She speaks in absolutes, but gets bored halfway through. And somehow, it always landed on me to finish what she started. I used to think that was love. Now, I think it was just training. Growing up, Lily got the lead in the school play. I ran the lights. Lily got a car at 16. I got the lecture about earning things. Lily was special. I was solid. You can't frame solid, though. You just carry it. I remember being 9, standing in a hardware store with my dad. He picked out screws and said, "Men like us don't complain. We just hold the line." I thought it was a badge of honor back then. It was a leash. I didn't move out after college. It wasn't a plan, more like a slow drift. Grandpa had left the duplex to Dad for the family. The upstairs needed a ton of work, and the downstairs unit I was in, it was livable, but damp and old. I told Dad I'd stay, do the repairs, pay rent to help with the mortgage. He just nodded, like I just solved his Sudoku puzzle for him. I learned to float drywall from YouTube. I replaced every outlet. I found the main shutoff, mapped the breaker panel. I logged everything in a Google sheet. Date, cost, hours. Every fix, every improvement. It made me feel more like a person. Lily, on the other hand, just breezed in and out. "Love what you've done with the place," she'd chirp, usually while grabbing leftovers from my fridge. Mom would pinch my cheek and whisper, "She's trying," and then immediately ask me to Venmo her $150 for the gas bill, because your father's paycheck is weird this month. If my life had a soundtrack, it was the hum of the washing machine and the sound of my own breath. It wasn't bad exactly, just small. And I told myself, small is safe. Then came that Tuesday evening in May. I went upstairs to return Dad's socket wrench. The kitchen smelled like lemon cleaner. Lily was at the table with Mom, tapping away on her phone. Dad stood by the sink, staring at a manila envelope like it might just leap up and bite him. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "The outlet in the hall is fixed." Dad didn't say thanks. He just looked at my hands, then my face, and cleared his throat. "Mark," he said, his voice strangely flat. "Sit." I sat. Lily didn't even look up. Mom folded a dish towel in half, then in half again, her hands shaking slightly. Dad pulled out some papers. Thick, official looking, brittle with staples. He slid them across the table. "You have 48 hours to get your things out," he said, his voice still unnervingly flat. "Your sister owns this house now." The words hit me like a cold glass of water dumped down my back. My breath caught. Lily finally looked up, gave this amused, tight smile like we were on a game show. "It's nothing personal," she said. "It's just timing." I stared at those papers, then at my father's hands, the calluses I'd tried to match since I was a kid. My mouth did something before my brain caught up. I smiled. I nodded. "Okay," I said. No one moved. In the sudden, profound silence, the fridge hummed. A single drop of lemon cleaner ran down the cabinet, making a wet comma on the floor. Mom whispered, "It'll be good for you to spread your wings." She said it like a quote she didn't even believe herself. 48 hours, Dad repeated, like he'd practiced the line. I put the wrench down on the table, carefully, like it might shatter the fragile tension in the room. I didn't say another word. But it didn't start with those papers. It started years before. It started when helping out turned into funding. After college, I got a decent job and moved into the downstairs unit for what we called family rent, $600 a month. Market rate was $1,200. I told myself I was lucky. At first, the money really did go straight to the mortgage. Then, the little things started happening. Mom would call. The tax bill came early. "Can you float $300? I'll pay you back." Dad would text, "Roof guy needs a deposit." I put in $500 here, $900 there. I kept receipts. I thought I was being smart. Lily just bounced around. Bartending. A marketing internship that was actually selling vitamins. A startup that paid in equity and pizza. She'd show up with a suitcase. "Can I crash for a couple weeks?" A couple weeks turned into 3 months. "You're a saint," Mom would say to me, while handing Lily a fresh set of keys to my home. I loaned Lily $1,200 once for car stuff. She promised to pay me back next Friday. Then, after the wedding. Then, when my tax return comes in. I kept a note in my phone. Every time I opened it, I felt small and annoying, so eventually, I just stopped opening it. The duplex wasn't fancy, but I made it better. I put in new cabinets after the flood when the old ones warped and smelled like old cereal. I called the city myself and fought a $600 abandoned trash fine that wasn't even ours. I learned the names of the guys at the hardware store. I became the man who held the line. Dad sometimes talked about legacy. He'd stare at the house and say, "This place keeps us together." I once asked, "So, what's the plan when you and Mom retire?" He just said, "We'll figure it out." That answer made my stomach feel like a drawer that just wouldn't close. In February, Dad's friend died. After the funeral, Dad got quiet, practical. He started sorting papers. I noticed a new folder on his desk, labeled Estate. Something in me sat up straight. "Everything okay?" I asked. He just said, "Just getting ducks in a row." In March, Lily got engaged to a guy named Travis. He wore expensive shoes and said things like, "We're building a brand." At dinner, he'd take calls on speakerphone. Dad loved him. Mom said he was a go-getter. I watched him order 2 appetizers and not touch either, and my jaw just ached. April. That's when the money turned into leverage. The property insurance shot up by $1,300. Dad sent a group text. "Need everyone to contribute to keep the home in the family." Everyone was me. Lily sent a heart emoji. I sent $1,000 with a note. "This drains me." Dad replied, "You're a good son." We had our first real fight that month. Lily wanted the upstairs unit for wedding-themed content. She wanted the living room as her studio. She actually floated the idea of me moving into a storage room, just for a bit. Mom said, "Be flexible, Mark." Dad said, "It's her time." I finally said, "It's my home too." No one heard that sentence. 2 weeks before those papers, Lily came down to the basement door while I was patching a corner. She stood on the steps, bathed in the dim light. "I swear, after the wedding, I'll be out," she said. "Travis has this plan." "What plan?" I asked. She laughed. "He's talking to investors." "For a wedding?" I asked, completely baffled. She just shrugged. "You don't get it." The first real trigger wasn't even the papers. It was a comment in the car. I was driving Mom to her appointment because Dad had to meet a notary. Mom stared out the window and said, "We always knew you'd be fine." I said nothing. She added, "Lily, she needs more." Like there was a pie, and my slice could just stretch indefinitely. The papers came after that. Deed transfer from Dad to Lily. Recorded last week. An eviction notice, typed up by a paralegal friend. They timed it for a Tuesday because weekends are hectic. They called it clean. It felt like a push down a flight of stairs. That night, I stared at my spreadsheet. $14,870 in materials across 4 years. About 412 hours of labor, according to my bad estimates. Rent paid on time, every month, for 61 months. I scrolled and felt nothing. Then I thought about the house like a person. I'd been feeding it, dressing it, keeping it warm, and now, it wasn't mine to even enter. I called Dad. He didn't pick up. I texted Lily. "Can we talk tomorrow?" She replied instantly. "Busy." "It's done." Travis followed up with a thumbs up. I didn't sleep a wink. I made coffee. I canceled my Netflix, like someone packing for a long trip. I took a photo of the hallway I'd painted. I ran my hand along the new post I'd sanded. It was smooth. For a second, I felt proud, then foolish, then angry, and then, weirdly, incredibly calm. In the morning, Dad knocked and opened the door, just like he always did. "We'll help you pack," he said, like he was doing me a favor. "Don't touch my things," I said. My voice was quiet, but firm. He blinked, surprised. It was like I'd just drawn a line on the floor between us. He nodded slowly, then left. And the clock officially started ticking. The family meeting happened on Saturday. Lily wanted a moment before she and Travis took possession. She said those words with a straight face. Mom made lemon bars. Dad put on the polo shirt he wears to all serious chats. I wore my work hoodie, with drywall dust still clinging to the seams. It felt like armor. We gathered in the living room I'd painted twice. Lily held a folder with tabs, each labeled in perfectly pink handwriting. Travis leaned back on the couch, looking like he owned gravity itself. "Okay," Lily started, clapping once. "So, this is going to be smooth. We're keeping the tenant." She nodded at me. "Month to month, just until we monetize the upstairs. Then we'll look at market rate." Dad grunted. Approval. Mom said, "It's for the best, everyone." I looked at the lemon bars. Say the thing I thought. Asterisk not the clever thing. The true thing. Asterisk no, I said. Silence. Even the fridge stopped humming. Lily laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. "No to what?" "No to being your month-to-month safety net. No to paying for your content dream while you raise my rent. No to packing up my life in 48 hours like some bad guest." Dad leaned forward. "We've made the decision. Don't be dramatic." "I'm being specific," I said. I pulled out my own folder. Printed emails. Receipts. A copy of my lease renewal from last year. I have a signed lease through December. It's legal. You can check. Travis smirked. "You can't lease from your family without. It's not from family." I cut him off, tapping a line on the document. "It's from the LLC." Dad put the house into an LLC last year to save on taxes. Remember, Dad? Your friend at church drew it up. You signed as manager. I signed as tenant. It auto-renewed. And 60 days notice? No cause eviction isn't allowed here anymore. It changed last summer. Mom's hand flew to her chest. Lily's face went tight. Travis reached for his phone. I don't want to fight, I said, my voice steady, surprisingly calm. But you don't get to take my home and my work and call it legacy. I slid a stack of receipts across the coffee table. Here are the materials I paid for. $14,870. Here are the bank transfers for insurance and taxes. $6,400. Here are screenshots of messages asking me for help. I helped. You can call it love. I'll call them invoices. Dad stood up, his face reddening. You're making this ugly. I stood too. No, I'm making it true. Lily pointed a manicured finger at me. You're just trying to punish me because Dad chose me for the deed. You always resented me. This is revenge. This isn't about revenge, I said. And it came out calm and low, almost a whisper. This is about closure. I let the words sit there, heavy in the air. You're adults. Make your choices. But you don't get my silence anymore. My line is here. I'm not your backup plan. I'm not your bank. I'm not your free superintendent. Travis started talking about liability exposure. I just held up a hand. If you want me out, follow the law. If you want to talk, talk in writing. No more hallway decisions. Dad's voice came back, hard. You ungrateful. After all I said quietly, and he stopped, like I'd pressed a button. Mom whispered, Mark, please. I looked at her, and my throat ached. I love you, I said. But I'm done being the one who carries it. Lily tried a new approach. Softer. We can do a fair rent. Market rate is $2,000. You can stay for $1,600. I pay $600 now, I reminded her. Plus, I paid for the cabinets, the outlets, half the roof. Market means you pay me for my labor if you want market. Travis scoffed. We'll get a contractor. Great, I said. Just make sure he fixes the thing behind the wall you can't see. I pointed to the far corner. Old galvanized line. Corroded. It'll burst in the next 2 months. Water goes everywhere. The main shutoff sticks. You have to hit it twice. And the city will fine you for water runoff if it floods the alley. Also, the upstairs bathroom fan is venting straight into the attic. Mold. You'll want to pull that before your wedding content. Lily's mouth opened and closed, no sound coming out. Dad rubbed his forehead. I'll be out on my timeline, I said. Not yours. And when I'm gone, we're square. No more transfers. No more can you float us. I won't be in the group chat if it's about money. Who do you think you are? Dad asked, his voice shaking. A tenant with a lease, I said. And your son. The room swayed with the weight of it all. I felt sick and clear at the same time. I'm not fighting you, I added. I'm informing you. Email me. I picked up my folder, left the untouched lemon bars, and walked downstairs. I closed my door. It felt like closing a book. The calls started that night. 9 missed calls from Dad. 5 from Mom. 3 from Lily. 1 from a number I didn't recognize. Travis's lawyer friend, I guessed. I put my phone face down and washed dishes slowly, like I had all the time in the world. At 8:12 p.m., Lily texted. Okay, we're willing to give you until end of June. New rent, $1,600, starting June 1st. I didn't reply. At 8:40 p.m., Dad, we do not want to go to court. Be reasonable. Then, you are breaking your mother's heart. Then, where's the garage door opener? I placed the opener on the counter and took a photo for my records. The next morning, I forwarded my lease to Lily and Dad with a short note. As discussed, I'll vacate by July 31st. Rent remains per lease, $600. Communications in writing. My hand shook as I typed. But my voice in the email? It did not. The clock kept ticking, but it belonged to me now. I made a moving budget. Truck, $140. Deposit for a new place, $1,200. First month's rent, $1,200. If I could find something small and clean. I listed my couch on Facebook for $80. A guy named Ben picked it up in a beat-up truck and said, heavy. I just said, yeah. On Wednesday, the city inspector came for the annual rental check. I let him in. He looked around with his clipboard. You've kept it nice, he said. He failed the property for the upstairs bath fan and a loose handrail. He left a yellow paper tape to the door. 15 days to fix. 10 minutes later, a bang from upstairs. Lily's voice, sharp and high, right through the floorboards. What is this? Then Travis. It's a minor thing. Then, Dad, it's always something. At noon, I got an email from Lily. We need you to meet the inspector next week for a recheck since you know the systems. I replied, I won't be handling maintenance. Please contact the contractor. 2 minutes later. But you live there. I typed. Being close is not the same as being responsible. Money messages stacked up like plates. Mom, could you spot us $350 for the water bill? We'll send it back Friday. She'd used that Friday before. I wrote, I can't. I stared at those 2 words for a long time. They kept me up that night, and then, oddly, they helped me sleep the next. Friday, I toured a studio above a barber shop. The landlord was a tired woman named Patrice. It's not the Ritz, she said, but it's quiet after 7. The windows faced a brick wall. It smelled like pine cleaner and warm dust. It was $1,100. I'll take it, I said. I put down the deposit, my hands feeling too big, too clumsy, for the small, simple transaction. Back at the duplex, Lily and Travis showed up with a contractor in gray shorts. I heard them doing their owner voice upstairs. We want an open concept here, Lily chirped. You can't say that to a century-old duplex and expect it to just, thank you. At 3:17 p.m., the contractor knocked on my door. You Mark? He asked. I nodded. Where's the main? I showed him. He tried the valve. It stuck. Huh, he said. He hit it once. Twice. And it went. Water shipped through the pipes. He looked at me. I looked at the timing like a person watching a storm form. Saturday night, a water hammer bang echoed through the house. Then the ceiling over the upstairs hall bubbled. The corroded line blew. White water. Loud. Angry. I ran up with towels out of habit. Then I stopped. I dialed Lily. Shut off the main, I said. The valve in the closet. Hit it twice. She screamed for Travis. Travis yelled, wrong closet. Dad cursed. Mom cried. I stood still in my doorway, listening to it all land. A minute later, silence. Then sobbing. Then Dad's voice from the stairwell. Mark. It wasn't the command voice. It was the boy voice. Please. I walked up slowly. Water pooled around my feet. The fresh-faced contractor stood on a chair, staring at the ruined plaster like it had personally betrayed him. Lily stood there, mascara smudged down her face. You knew, she said. Not a question. I told you Wednesday, I said. And last month. And last year. Travis looked at the inspector's yellow paper. This doesn't even mention this, he said, as if he'd found a loophole. Dad sat on the bottom step with his head in his hands. I helped them move soaked boxes because I didn't want family photos ruined. I did it without saying, I told you so. I did it because it was decent. Monday, Lily sent a 500-word email asking me to oversee the repairs this month since you know the vendors. She offered $200. I replied with links to 3 plumbers and my rate, $45 per hour, invoiced weekly. She wrote back, that's insane. I didn't answer. An hour later, fine, but cap it at 10 hours. I scheduled the plumber and told him to bill Lily directly. The plumber came, replaced the line, shook his head, and said to Lily in that voice contractors use for people who haven't listened. Whoever told you this place was turnkey wasn't your friend. The bill was $1,140. Lily tried to negotiate. He just laughed and left. By Thursday, the upstairs looked like a hospital waiting room after a fire. Lily sat on the stairs, crying into a towel. Mom brought her tea. Dad stared at me like I was a problem he simply couldn't solve. I stood with my back against the wall and felt, impossibly, gloriously relieved. I packed in pieces. 6 boxes Monday for Tuesday. 3 big trash bags Wednesday. I labeled each box like a person who planned to see them again. I found a list of Lily's old Friday paybacks in a notebook. $1,200. $600. $350. $90. I put the paper in the trash, then took it out, then put it back in. Let go, I told myself. Or at least don't carry it to the new place. When the reinspection came, the upstairs fans still vented into the attic. The inspector frowned. 15 more days, he said to Lily. After that, it's a fine. Lily glared at him like the calendar was his fault. That night, Dad cornered me at the bottom of the stairs. We can fix this if you stop being stubborn, he said. I'm stopping a lot of things, I said. Stubborn isn't one. He opened his mouth to say the speech he always says. I just raised a hand. Email. Mom called and left a voicemail. I miss you, she said. Your father is difficult. Lily is Lily. Please don't leave like this. I listened twice. I didn't call back. I texted, I'll come Sunday for dinner. No money talk. She sent a heart. Then promise. I sent promise. Sunday dinner. We tried silence. It cracked. Dad started to talk about what's fair. I stood, put my plate in the sink, and said, email. He almost threw his fork. I left early, walked home through the warm air that smelled like cut grass, and realized I'd already started calling the studio home in my head. On July 30th, I rolled my last box out. I took one final photo, the hallway light throwing a gold triangle on the floor. Lily stood on the porch with a clipboard, hair pulled back, eyes tired. You're really leaving? She said, like it had never occurred to her that I actually might. Yes, I said. She frowned. I thought you'd fight to stay. I did, I said. Just not the way you wanted. The studio above the barbershop is small. The oven makes a clicking sound when it preheats. The neighbor plays soft jazz on Sundays. The window faces a brick wall, so the light is always filtered, like eternal mourning. I set up a cheap desk and a plant I named also Mark. It lives. I'm building a new routine that feels like a promise I'm making to myself. Out the door at 7:15. Coffee from the bakery where they knew my name by the second week. Shift at the hospital. After work, a 20-minute walk. Sometimes I read. Sometimes I fixed nothing. The first week, I counted the missed calls, 27. Then it went down, 12, then 4. Now it's 1 every few days from Mom. A photo of a casserole. A picture of the cat. I answer those. I don't answer the group chat if it contains the word bill. My thumb hovers. It moves away. I breathe. Money feels different now. It's not a test I have to pass. It's just days and hours turned into groceries and rent. I set up an automatic transfer to a savings account named Not an Emergency. I send $50 every Friday. It's small. It's mine. Lily texted me a photo last week of the upstairs with new paint. We fixed the fan, she wrote. Travis says we're pivoting to long-form content. I wrote back, good luck. She sent a thumbs up. It didn't cost me anything. Dad hasn't apologized. He might never. He sent one email. We did what we thought was best for the family. I wrote, I know. I did too. He didn't reply. People think closure is a door slamming. It's not. It's learning which doors you don't walk through anymore. If you ask me what I got out of all this, I'd say, I got myself back. I got the knowledge that I don't have to be the floor everyone stands on. I can be a wall. I can be a door. I can be a person who says, email me, and then lives a life that isn't just a reaction to everyone else's emergencies. This isn't revenge. This is boundaries. It's looking at a bill and asking, is this mine? If it is, I pay it. If it isn't, I don't. That sentence. That's the moral I wish I'd learned at 9, standing in that hardware store. My name is Mark. I'm 31. I hold lines that belong to me, and I'm finally done holding lines that don't. Slight pause, then a genuine, curious tone. Have you ever had to draw a line in the sand with family, even when it felt impossible? Or maybe you're the one always fixing things for everyone else. Tell me your story in the comments below. I really want to hear what you think.